And we are live, and welcome everybody to this most special of interviews. Now, you may have been watching my interviews with amazing people that I know, and you may have noticed that they all have one thing in common, that they have or are studying at the Modern Mystery School. So you can imagine my excitement today as we get to speak with the founder of the Modern Mystery School, Gudni Gudnason. Now, as well as being the founder of the Modern Mystery School, he is the lineage holder, Ipsismus, member of Third Order, ritual master teacher, Kabbalist, Kabbalah teacher, to name but just a few of his amazing achievements. Now, some of you won't perhaps understand what that means or understand what a mystery school is. So let me list some of the other things that you may recognize. He's very well known for his humanitarian projects, such as the Golden Pyramid of Peace, working with people such as Dr. Emoto and the Dalai Lama. He's also trained in rescue and military services, is a highly trained martial arts instructor. He's had many successful businesses, and yet he's also been recognized in the arts. He's been a professional dancer, artist, writes poetry, and now an award-winning TV producer, music producer, and the list goes on. So welcome, and thank you for coming onto the show on New Year's Eve. Welcome, Founder Gudni.
Thank you.
We are already inundated with flashes of hearts and comments on the side here. So if you see me glancing over everyone, you'll see me looking to see if there's any questions and things, and I'm sure we'll do our best to answer. Now, we could talk about so much. However, we've only got a set amount of time today. So I wanted to get right into the questions, if that's okay with you. So here in the UK and EU, we have a deep history of magic. And as you may have heard in Jordan's interview with Founder Gudni, he came to London as a young man to study the hidden mysteries. And he actually studied in the Golden Dawn, which some of you may have heard of. People such as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sir Winston Churchill, David Bowie, all studied here. But what are its origins? Why is it in London? And what drew all of these amazing people into this lineage? Or did the lineage create these amazing people? So let's start at the beginning and find out the history of the closed mystery school in London. So, Founder Gudni, may I start and ask these questions? How did the Golden Dawn come to London? Had it always been there? And if not, where was it before?
Well, that's a long story. So let's see if we can do a short version of it. Of course, mystery school, the mystery school lineage we're from is thousands of years old. It's 8,000 years old, all the way to Hermes. Even further than that, if we add into the shamanism and other things what we do. But so if we go back to Solomon 3,000 years ago, and after Solomon's death, the mystery school starts spreading around the planet, and is in several locations. And the European section first was, first it was actually in Greece, and there was an Egyptian school, there was a school in Greece, and then the Greece school kind of split up, and we can see this in all kinds of masters who were in the school at the time. They kind of took the teachings and they started side schools, and this branch, the European branch, kind of branched out into several locations. And there were good reasons for that, because there was persecutions, there was the rise of the Catholic Church, which did not like us, and called us pagans. And so alchemy became hidden within several areas. Example, Czechoslovakia, old Yugoslavia, these areas, Romania, there was a lot of alchemy laboratories there. And I actually studied in one of the last ones back in the 70s. I studied in one of the last ones of those. It was amazing. The building is still there, but there's nothing in it anymore. And then it kind of started flowing back in late 1700s, early 1800s, started flowing back into one place, and it found itself in Germany, and was called Fama Fraternatis, or the front name. There's never really been a name. It's just the lineage, it's the mystery school. But a group of the mystery school masters, they decided, okay, we start this fraternatis, or this brother and sisterhood, and we call it the Fama, and started pushing everything back into one place. So it was in Germany for a while, and then its original the original goal, and I'm revealing some secrets here that maybe I shouldn't be doing, but oh well, it's too late. So basically, the location of the mystery school, it should follow the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail and the Grail line, which goes from the Great Pyramid and straight through London, and actually straight up to Iceland. And you can see this work in Dr. Adam Rutherford. He did intensive research on this, and the meaning of the importance of England, UK, and Iceland. These are two very connected in Dr. Adam Rutherford's work. He's a pyramidologist, and so finally this all came back to London to follow the Grail, and it's interesting. And this was mid 1800s, and the Fama moved over. The charter for the school was given to the then not known as the Secret Order, or the Third Order, was given to them. The charter was given to them in London, and they started the work in about 1850, 1855. And then the school worked underground, as most of these schools do, until 1888. In May of 1888, they emerged to the surface and called themselves the Golden Dawn. They had done a little test run actually before that, and called there was a little organization called the Morning Star, and so that was just a little test run, and they taught very interesting classes, and they saw that there was interest that this would actually work. So the Golden Dawn emerged. And when I say, I really need to stress this, guys. When I say the Golden Dawn, I know a lot of people listening are going, "Oh, okay, this Golden Dawn, yeah, we have that today." And no, you do not. We do not have that. There is lots of stuff on the internet. There is organizations calling themselves Golden Dawn all over the world. This is not the origins of the King Solomon Mystery School. These are feeble attempts of imitating us, and I'm sorry, but that's just the fact. I shouldn't be this critical, but it's just a fact, and they're altering the work. They don't bring the true teachings to the people. So anyway, so that's how the Golden Dawn basically, finally came to London and took its place, its rightful place. And it's interesting because when I came there from Iceland, and the school was following the Grail line, they said, the prophecy is fulfilled. I, as a young guy, never knew what that meant, but that's what they said to me. Oh, the prophecy is fulfilled, because the Holy Grail is actually in Iceland. That's the final resting place of it.
My goodness, that is amazing. It's so, as you were saying, so we've got a little bit of interference there on the line. As you were saying, this emerged in 1800s, and what was it, always interesting to me was that the type of people that studied in the mystery school at that time, it's like anybody who was anybody, seemed to have studied in the mystery school. So what type of people were permitted to study in the mystery school at that time? Why was it so popular?
Well, let me just clarify. Anybody could study. Not anybody could study in the mystery school. They were selective. It was not open in the beginning. From 1850, even in Germany, was closed, and they chose their students, and they would choose students. Of course, many students were there because of their fathers and grandfathers, etc. So it was in the family, and which is like the story with Paracelsus. Paracelsus was, his father and grandfather, etc. Long line of mystery school. But when they opened up in 1888, there was a surge of educated people who came in. The housewives, like we call them, the housewives came in, and they were more interested in, the so to speak, the lighter side of the teachings, astrology and psychic development. But the largest group were educated people, or doctors, astronomers, physicists, etc. Because we were teaching at the time. When you said the word metaphysics back then, even when I came to London in the 70s, and people asked me, "What do you do?" and I would say, "Well, I study metaphysics." And I'm starting to teach. When I started to teach metaphysics, that was always like, "Oh, wow." That was already, even then in the 70s, was a very respected thing. And back in the 1800s, extremely respected. And example, just one example of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who obviously wrote Sherlock Holmes because he was Sherlock Holmes. He was helping the police a lot, and several other members of the mystery school. But he was very respected. He would teach in universities, Oxford, etc., and share metaphysics. And unfortunately, he lost his respectability by publishing a book about fairies. He said that he took photographs of fairies, and those were very famous. I think if I remember correctly, it's the first photographs of fairies ever to be published or ever to be taken, I think. And so because of that, they stopped inviting him to come to the universities, but this is how, that was metaphysics. And, physicists, mathematicians, scientists were coming, professionals. We had, 1800s, late 1800s, with Carl Jung talking a lot about, who talked about metaphysics and psychology from the metaphysical standpoint, the holistic point of a person. You're not just the physical body and the mind. You have the soul, you have the aura, you have the magnetic energies, you have all the, and then you have the spirit, which is eternal. So you have all these different entities working in your psyche, and Carl Jung recognized that. And example, I think he said once that when the spirit, which we don't have much connection with spirit, we know how to like uplift our spirit to feel better about the physical body, but we don't have much connection with it, and it doesn't really have a personality or identity in a sense. But Carl Jung would say, when the spirit is dreaming, you know, we get some kind of messages from its dreams, and they might come to us through our dreams. They might come to us through colors, like when we close our eyes, we see certain colors. That might be messages from the spirit, and other things. He mentioned that the internal workings of the spirit. So, you know, this is how the mystery school was in the beginning, and being a closed mystery school, like when I joined it, it was closed again because it was open from 1888 and closed down 1932. And there is a lot to be said about a closed mystery school. You get the students that are dedicated to the study. You get the students that have been observed, like they observed me for a couple of years before inviting me into the school. They wanted to see, okay, how does his mind work? So they were observing me in study within the metaphysical society, the philosophical society, and with my rabbi studying Kabbalah. You know, they were watching me, and then invited me to come. So it was a very different foundation of the school back then.
And when people studied in the mystery school then, and you know, they were physicists, and we know Sir Winston Churchill and such like. So they were studying these concepts, and then they were taking them out, and they were helping humanity. And so, how has the mystery school in London influenced humanity, would you say, in that respect?
Well, I think that's hard to answer that. But if you look at each individual, I mean, Winston Churchill is of course known for many different things, many good things. And by the way, when it comes to Winston Churchill, I do not think that he was a high initiate. I know that he was an initiate, but I think that when he started his mission as prime minister, the climb to that, I think he did less and less with the mystery school. So, but I'm not exactly sure how high he actually went. But you could see his humanity in his action. You know, he did not accept that 400,000 soldiers were stuck on the shores of France. He said, no, we will send every boat in England to go get them. You know, in this kind of actions that he took to preserve life and save lives. And of course, the way he handled in the war and fought, or made his army fight. So I think that each individual, we develop skills that then come to us when we meet hardship in life, when there's a task at hand, then the skills come out. Preservation of life, and being a strong leader, which is of course very, very important for us in the mystery school. We talk a lot about that. We don't train followers. The mystery school trains leaders. We have always done that for thousands of years in the school. It's always been about training leaders. So, and we can see that. It's very interesting also for me because I love physics and this period of time, the end of the 1800s, coming into 1900s, physics is kind of floating in, becoming a science actually. Before that it wasn't really a science per se. So it's becoming a science, and you can see how many of the original physicists were very metaphysical. And I have a lot of books from that period written by physicists, and there's almost no difference. It's like you're just reading a mystery school book. It's physics, but it's about mystery school. And there is Kabbalah. There's of course huge amount of alchemy, and it's so obvious how they took what they learned in the mystery school and applied it to physics. Of course, then there started a division between science and spirituality, or they took physics out of metaphysics, or took science out of it, and which is sad. But that took a long time. I know that even that even at the when the physicists gathered in Copenhagen that was kind of the birth of modern physics, that Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics. And this is when all these brains came together and working, and there's this amazing picture of them. I might be able to find it and show you, but there's this amazing picture of them, and they're taken in front of a building where that was owned by Mystery School in Copenhagen, and they were studying, they were meeting in a Mystery School building, so the only sad thing about the picture is there's only one woman. There were other women, but there were many women scientists at the time, but somehow in this picture there was only one or two women, I think. But during that time is when quantum physics became this mystery, and even Einstein was talking about the mystery of the quantum, and he called it the spooky effect. There's some spookiness in here, and their terminology at the time was so different from today, and it was obvious they were, even though I'm not so sure about Einstein's study with us in the mystery school. I'm not sure, but there were most of them were mystery school people. So,
and so they studied predominantly in the Golden Dawn in London. And these scientists, would they have come into the city, and then would they have gone to classes and temples and things like that? How would it have worked? When they were studying in the mystery school in those days. How was the structure?
Well, the mystery school back then was in. They had. Now I have a hard time remembering this, but in the beginning it was in several buildings in London, and started in this one building, and then it spread out a little bit. But at one point, just don't remember I think it was like maybe 1910 or 11. I hope that's correct, but around that time, they decided to bring everything into one building. And funny enough, this building, even though I really don't want everybody to start rushing to this building, and I'm not going to tell you where it is, but they called the building the Sanctuary House. It did not have a sign, mystery school, anything like this, or the Golden Dawn, or anything like that. And actually, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was not published in the beginning. It was kept low key, and it was called the Sanctuary House. And people just said, "Well, I'm studying at the sanctuary." And that's the building basically I got to I came to in the 70s, and well, I thought was gone. I did not think existed anymore, and it's still there. So that was, but in that building, but there was still buildings around. Example, there's a smaller building a little bit away from Sanctuary House, and it has a tower, and it's so strange. I took Aiko, my wife, there a few years ago, and to show her, and I looked at it going, "Oh, it's so small." It felt like, oh no, I remember it to be bigger than this, So, but I also remember that, we have to remember that we're not talking about we're not just talking about a regular train station. We're talking about a Harry Potter's train station. There is a gateway in that, in that pillar right there between the two train tracks. This kind of world. I mean, that building, I would go into that building and, walk 10 floors up in the building that was only 3 floors. This kind of stuff was constantly happening. And the Sanctuary House, it has a basement, and none of us know how many floors down it goes. We know that we functionally used 3 of them, so we would go 3 floors down, but we're talking about a basement that was the size of London. So, like, we have to remember that this is that other woo-woo side of what we do and the mystery school and how it is. It's not just the physical. There's a way more to it than that. So
it's so interesting because I've only ever heard you mention that once in a class that I was attending, and it was so funny. The week before you mentioned it, I had seen that exact building on a bus. I was going past it on a bus, and I thought, oh, that's unusual that it's called that name, and it was all in stone. Anyway, so I went back to try and find the building, and I've never been able to find it again. So I was like, oh my goodness, it was amazing, and it was so eye-catching, the building, because it was unusual. So these places, you say it's, obviously the magical places. What we were talking the other day about the ley lines and such like. Are these magical places in London that the Golden Dawn use based on different ley lines? How does that come into play?
Yes. Now, I know that there's many people online here that are listening that are not from London, and so please leave now. No. But London, for me, London is my home. You know, I think back on my life, and Iceland doesn't feel like home. It never did, actually. From the time I was born in Iceland, I wanted to get out of there. Started, you know, traveling. 14 years old, started traveling to London, and I knew. I mean, I was speaking, which nobody understood in Iceland. But I was 8 years old and started speaking perfect Oxford English. No one understood why. And reading and writing. I had a typewriter, and I was writing stories and poems in English. But London it's completely filled with magical power spots. More than any other city I've ever been to. And I have traveled everywhere. And I would say London is 3 different cities. It is the deeper city, which archaeology has already proven. London is built on another city, on an older city. And that city and its energy is still alive in the city. And example of that is some of that has been brought up. An example of that is the old temple of Mithras, which is found in the city. They took it, first it was allowed to be underground. It was a few floors down, and we actually went down there to do ceremony. But now they have lifted it up. For a while it was moved to all the objects are moved to a museum, but I don't know, but I think it's still there. I think you can still go and see it, but it's up on the ground right now. But that's the old city underneath. And there's many places. If you go into the catacombs, I don't know if you knew that London has catacombs. There's huge catacombs all over London, under London. And then many of them come into these open squares and open areas and town halls. That a town square. But there's nothing, it's just that. And so this is one part of London that's mystical and amazing. And I know that the city doesn't want people to go down there because it's dangerous. You know, it's collapsing and stuff. And then you have there's the regular city that people live in. And then you have the mystical London. And that's where I basically lived. And that's the mystical London is so amazing. There's ley lines. There are so many ley lines. I mean, I want to show you. I have a few of them here. Now this is. Can you see that? Oh, there it is.
Oh yes, we can.
So this is England, and you can see that the famous Canterbury line goes all the way down.
Wow, yes.
This one, that one. Despite popular belief, the Canterbury line does not go into Stonehenge. It goes by Stonehenge, right? By Stonehenge, but not straight into Stonehenge. But a lot of people are saying that, but it's not true. And then this is London.
Wow.
And this is this is the main ley line pyramid or triangle, I say, the triangle of London.
Amazing.
But it has 13 different triangles like that in this area that all kind of overlaps this. There's another one there.
Oh, wow.
This one is it's very hard to see. I'm sorry about that. The quality is not very good, but
Amazing.
yeah, like I said, London just has tons of these ley lines, and power spots. So I'm sorry. I want to show you here again. Sorry, correcting what I said earlier. So this is not the Canterbury. This is the Michael line.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And this is the Canterbury line.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the Michael line does not go into Stonehenge. It goes right by it. Does not go into it. But if you follow these ley lines, you do find, yeah, we followed actually both lines from beginning to end. Amazing things everywhere. Total magic. And London again. London, inside London. The power spot to begin London, and I can tell you the story of that, but it would be too long to tell you here. It would take a few hours, but everything starts in London at the Templar Church. The Templar Church is the beginning, and the Templar Church is based. The building we have today is built on another church that's built on another church that's built on another church. So this is a very, very old, and those churches were built on a power spot built by Celtic shamans. So pagans, basically pagans. Now the Christian church, the Roman church, they try to build their churches on power spots, on ritual sites of pagans. So usually churches are on, like the Notre Dame is on a very powerful shamanic point and ley lines. So, and London is just filled with it. It's filled with it. In yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot. When I get there, I'll take you on a tour, okay?
Oh my goodness. I think we have about, you might have 90, 100 people just listening right now that want to tag along as well. That's the thing. We'll have to get a big tour bus, a magical tour bus. We have a question that's come in, and it's following on the theme of what we're talking about. But he said London has such a magical city with symbols everywhere, and these symbols, is that how the magic is anchored, or is it the ley lines that anchor the magic? How is the magic anchored? And they're asking about the magical places, which you've actually just shared with us a few.
Number one, how the magic is anchored is with the people who live there. The people anchor the magic. Yes, the ley lines give you the magic. There's magic in the earth. Gaia, Mother Gaia, gives us magic, but it comes out through the people who live there and the people who do the work. When I was studying in London, we would do grid work. We would go out to the city and do gridding, which is something we do. Example, in Tokyo, a team goes out every week to grid all the 23 areas of Tokyo. It takes them almost a day to do this. And and I honestly think, I know it sounds crazy, but I honestly think that's why we have such low COVID-19 numbers in Tokyo. We've had, since the beginning, around 1,000 deaths or less than 1,000 deaths, and up till just a couple of weeks ago, we were looking at 300-400 per day who got sick, and no deaths in the last 6 months. And it's up a little bit now because of cold weather. They knew that already. With the cold weather, numbers would go up. So, but we are gridding every week. We grid the whole city, and so the magical places, yes, you can actually, you can feel, feel the energy. If you're an initiate, you will harness that energy in specific places in London. And again, the Templar Church is one, and believe it or not, Buckingham Palace is another. Buckingham Palace has an incredible temple inside that has been used by mystery school for hundreds of years. And again, Buckingham Palace was built on a holy Celtic site, holy shamanic site. So, yeah, London is, of course, the park. The park is amazing. Hyde Park. I'm talking about Hyde Park. There's a lot of parks, of course. There's a lot of great parks. But Hyde Park is a very powerful, and has actually there are 3 different lines going into Hyde Park, and each side of Hyde Park has its own magic. And if you think about it, if you go up to Oxford Street and Hyde Park Corner, that area is very active and alive, and if you drive by, you notice it very well. But if you go all the way to the other side, towards Notting Hill, and that side of the park is dull, you almost don't notice it. And even driving by it, you don't even see it somehow. That's where the big magic is, guys. That's where there's a huge palace there that no one sees. There's all kinds of magic going on there. And you see weird people walking around in that side of the park. I know there was a period of time that the park was, not safe. There was a lot of crime and kind of small gangs roaming around, and gang battles and stuff. And then, and then they cleaned the park up. But these things never happened down on that side. It was always up, in the active side. They never went over there because it's protected by magic. So there's a hotel. What is that hotel? Anyway, there's a hotel down there towards Harrods, but you overlooks the park, and
Oh yes, I know the one.
And you can see this side, and it's quite interesting. I've had several people with me, and they've been looking, and they don't seem to see what's closest to them. They just see what's over there, They see the snake, and we should go over, So it's very interesting. But you should go there and just feel that. That's close to your house, isn't it?
Yes. As you know, the new office, the headquarters of the Modern Mystery School UK, is right on that side, overlooking Hyde Park now. So we found the magic, of course. All along our side is very quiet and very peaceful and very magical, as you say. Very special. You said the people anchor the magic, and I love that. And the Golden Dawn. One of the questions we had was, how does the Golden Dawn operate today? Is it the people? Do people in the Golden Dawn, operate in London today? And how do they use their magic if they are, still operating here today?
Well, yes, they do. Now we're talking about the real Golden Dawn, our lineage. The mystery school is operating in England. There has been some shift with the headquarters. For those who do not know, the Library of Alexandria was never lost. It was never burned down. It is in London. It is safe. I studied with it for many years, and of course there are so many books in it that it would take several lifetimes to study everything. But it's safe. It has been now moved to a more safer location. So yes, we are still operational in that area, but the London or the UK branch of the Mystery School lineage is still closed to the general public. However, it's very interesting that some of the members from my time and even after my time have started to come out to do something in society. They're not doing adept initiations, they're not doing full Mystery School protocol, but I bought some ritual tools the other day, and that was from Mystery School members, real Mystery School members. So they're starting to come out. I found just through the internet a young boy in Russia who happened to be, actually his lineage was from Romania, and his father had been Mystery School Ipsissimus. His grandfather was an Ipsissimus, and his father was a teacher. So high initiate, but he didn't get any teachings, but little bit teachings. But he knew how to make holy tools. So I'm buying holy tools from him right now. So some people are coming out, but basically the school is closed. It is not open. We are the only one of the 7 schools that is open to the general public.
One of the questions here that has just filtered in is, does the Golden Dawn operate with the other mystery school lineages? How do they collaborate? How do they communicate is another question we've had.
Only on the astral level. There is communication on astral level between all the mystery schools. The Tibetan mystery school is the head. The head of that is His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and so that it's all funneled from that down to us and to what we are doing. But having said that, we at the mystery school here, we are guided by what's called the hierarchy of light, which is a spiritual entity. It's not physical. It doesn't have an office, or so it has an office in the astral level and the other side, and it operates here on the subatomic level. So all the students in the mystery school, they feel it. They can feel the energy from it. They can get the messages. So we always prompt our students, as you guys know. We get a directive and then take it in, feel it if it's correct for you. Always check with ourselves. And so yes, there is communication on the astral level, but we as an open mystery school, we're dealing with so many other things. You know, that the mystery school lineage has never been opened and has never had so many students as today. We're dealing with problems we've never seen before. So, you know, the third order, me and Ipsissimus Dave and Ipsissimus Hededo, we are dealing with new problems we've never seen before. So the other mystery school kind of, they can give us advice, but they've never been there, so they don't really know. So we're kind of on our own, you know, solving these issues, and we know that coming out into the open, we are vulnerable to attack. This we accept that it is part of what we do. The Golden Dawn, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, when they emerged, they were also attacked. They also knew that. They were not as ready for it as we are. We know it's going to happen. They had, you know, but they had crazy things happen. You know, the only case in the whole world, well, I shouldn't say that. Let's say just Europe, at least, where a person has been accused of murdering someone through psychic energy, happened to a member of the mystery school. And that was actually Mona Mathers, the wife of MacGregor Mathers. She was accused, and it's a famous case in England. She was accused, she went in front of a judge and, you know, everything. There was a court, and she was accused of killing someone with psychic energy. So, you know, we were attacked then. We are criticized and attacked today. It's just a part of being outside, you know, out and not a secret society. So, you know, yeah.
So, Founder Gudni, we're coming to the end of our time. I know we want to keep going on, but I wonder if there is anything else that you would care to share with us regarding your time in the Golden Dawn, or you know, anything you know, that I have not asked a question of, or you know, that's popped up that I think people might find interesting. Just by the way, just to let you know, we've had gazillions of comments, and we're, you know, lots of hearts. Thank you for sharing. You know, people are talking about being brave pioneers and amazing, and I mean the comments have just gone on and on. So I just wanted to let you know, I have been keeping an eye on them, but they've been too much to keep you know, sharing with you along the way. But yeah, I mean, I know maybe we can actually ask Founder Gudni if he could come on for a part 2 at some point in 2021. But you know, to kind of finish off, is there anything that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, this kind of could come a little bit, sound a little bit shocking to you or weird, but yeah, you know, today we have in our school, in our organization, we have these issues, students who have issues with us regarding, example, to have to pay for seminars, example, you know, and back when I was in London, first of all, no, there was no price for any seminar, but the equal exchange had to be there. And we had to find out somehow, if I asked for, okay, could I join this alchemy class, then I needed to find out how much is the alchemy program. And, you know, when I was accepted, I didn't try. I was told I'm accepted to Ritual Master program. And I was like, oh, how much is that? And back in the 70s, I found out through some other students, but that it was $7,000. So in equivalent to dollars. So 7,000 back then was a lot of money. But when we found out, well, everybody there, when we found out how much it was like, yay, I get to pay that. You know, and for my Ritual Master program, Like today, we do it in sections, but I thought, okay, 7,000, then I'm going to pay 21. And I took my 21,000 and gave that as an equal exchange, because everybody understood that the privilege of being allowed to give something meant the equal exchange. How much I would get back is depending on how much I give. So it hurts me often when I see students who just don't get that and think it's a burden that they have to pay something, and is there can I get a early discount? And it's also, for me it makes things so cheap. It lowers the quality of what this school is about, because we're about the magic that is behind the scenes, and that's what you get only when you share, when you give from yourself. You get back what you need. And with that kind of a monetary system we have today, it doesn't work. I mean, so we of course we're forced to have this system. It's a system that we have to show prices, and we have to show a certain way of how to do business. But I often wish that the student would understand the power of the equal exchange, and that you get back what you give, and etc. So that it was just remembering back in London how amazing it felt to walking out of the school with some of the students, and by the way, which often was, for example, David Bowie was with me. We studied Kabbalah together, and we would walk out, and we found out we were also in the same alchemy class, and we found out we were accepted to the same class, and he was ahead of me. I came afterwards, and we found out we were studying the same spiritual alchemy class, and he was so excited that we could pay. It was like, I don't remember, 5,000 or something, and we were so excited that we could pay that we were allowed to pay that. That was the conversation. Not, how am I going to come up with that money? And I don't know, it's like, it was never like that, anybody. So it's just a whole different magical attitude towards the study of the mysteries. So,
Thank you for that, because that is, yes, truly, I think, I hope people understand how, what a gift that comment was just then, because when you have that attitude towards, the exchange and with magic, everything is always, it's always there. It's always provided somehow, some way. And, that's the magic of it. And then we start living this amazing royal life, and this amazing life that, I never thought I would be living this type of, life. And it's always been down to the mystery school. I mean, I often say to people, I've run a business pre-mystery school and run a business after mystery school, and the difference is just night and day, night and day. So thank you for that, and thank you for all of your insight on New Year's Eve, taking the time and sharing your valuable time with us. And we've just had a gazillion comments, and people are just going hearts and thank you, and lots and lots of different comments coming up. So I'm hoping to get to do part 2 in 2021. And thank you so much, and Happy New Year to you and Aiko and the cats and everybody in Japan. And love you lots. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.